Hello, everybody. Jay Real here, once again with my buddy Brandon. And it is April the 13th, 2025. And he's off West Texas, and I'm Central Texas. But it's been hot and windy today. So, and y'all be getting the windy. It's been a windy year. Last year was a rainy year. This year's been a windy year so far. So.
Hits you out of nowhere like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. But let's see. What I was going to say. If there was something else I was going to say before we, because you've got some things you want to show off here. And somebody never did ask. Dvorak, is that German?
It's Czech.
Czech. Oh, okay. Because they're in West, there's a lot of Czech.
Yeah. Czech. It's some people, I pronounce it Dvorak. Some people, like my great grandma, went by Drozak.
Huh.
But we always just went by Dvorak. But they'd be like, oh, yeah, that's where Granny Drozak is buried, and then Dvorak. So I guess people have different pronunciations, you know?
Huh.
Like I have a friend named Shoelock, but then there's some people I know that go by Shoelack, and it's just spelled the same way.
Huh.
And then my sister, she married a guy who his dad's Czech and his mom's Italian, but his name is Hudasek. The last name is Hudasek. It's a Czech name. So when I was going to get him a birthday card to write his name, but I didn't really know how to spell it. So I just got him a bottle of whiskey and was like, happy birthday. Because I don't know how to spell Hudasek. It has an H in there and all kinds of shit.
I don't know if Kathy's here tonight, but I don't know if it was German or what. I believe it was the original pronunciation was like Reihl or something. And they just said, but it sounds like real, so they just said, fuck it. They just spelled it with two E's. So
if I was a villain in wrestling, I would want people to think I was a German or something, and I'd be a villain and be like, I say, and be like,
well, that sounds like a good wrestling name, Dvorak. You know,
Dvorak. Nah, people get too offended nowadays. They be like, he's a Nazi or some shit.
Like Dvorak the Merciless, or
Dvorak the
Merciless. And then Thomas wants to know if we get flying monkeys. No, I haven't seen any flying monkeys, but everything else.
Wouldn't be surprised. Seen a couple possums.
What I get is raccoons, and I feed these. I got like 8 or 9 outdoor cats, and I'll pour food out for them on the porch. And every now and then there'll be a damn raccoon, and them fucking cats, they're just like, come on aboard, come on. They'll just move aside, let the raccoons eat with them. It's like,
if you want to see something funny, give the raccoon a sugar cube and leave a bowl of water out, and he might try to wash it, and it'll disappear, and he'll be like looking in there.
It's like earn your keep, I mean, I spent all this money to feed them, and the least they could do is run off the raccoons and possums and stuff when they show up. No, they just come on, they step aside and let the raccoons eat with them.
I stepped on some toes, but because when I was in Itasca, I wrote a poem called "Possum, Snakes, and Crackheads" because that's all that's out there, and it made some people mad.
Yes, well. I never was that, because I know Brandon is. I never was a huge wrestling fan. My dad liked wrestling, but back in he really liked the Von Erichs. And I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. One of the Von Erich brothers, but I don't know which one. It might have been Kevin, but I won't swear to it. Was at a wrestling event here in Bahia at the old middle school gymnasium. And I went with my dad to go watch the wrestlers, and one of them being one of the Von Erich brothers. And I sat in the front row in little metal fold-out chairs, So I sat in the front row, and the opponent of Von Erich gives him one of them open-handed slaps in the face, and Von Erich's face goes, his face goes like that, and a big wad of spit hit me in the face. So I can say I've been spat on by one of the Von Erich brothers.
I'm telling you, if anyone likes wrestling and you're on Waco, check out Heart of Texas Wrestling, or in Cleburne, Texas, APW. I like going to them shows. I really want to see them midgets, though. I want to see them midgets fight.
Well, you're not supposed to say midgets. What are you supposed to say?
Well, my buddy told me that he met a midget wrestler, and the midget wrestler said that he's a midget, and a little person is like a mom calling her kid like a little man or something.
Well, yeah, to me, everything else to call them sounds worse than midget.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not a kid, little person. What?
Yeah. or even worse is dwarf. I mean,
yeah, it's a mythical creature.
And I don't know. I'm trying to think. Well, a little person, I wouldn't. If I'm a full-grown man, I wouldn't want to be called a little person. But hang on, let me see if my phone's doing.
All I know is that Peter Dinklage and Hornswoggle need to step into Cage, since Peter Dinklage got all the midgets fired from Snow White. You hear about that?
Yeah. And they look horrible. The CGI dwarves look like something out of your nightmares.
I know. Wee Man and all the famous midgets were pissed because Peter Dinklage is already rich and famous, and that could have got them a lot of money, And
here's the thing about that. In probably most of the movies that I've seen Peter Dinklage in, the word midget is said. I swear. They're always calling him a midget in pretty much every movie I see him in. They call him a midget. And he's throwing a big fit about, little people playing dwarfs. And so they can make some money and earn a living. And they replaced them with CGI dwarfs, and oh my God, they look, like I say, they look like something out of a damn nightmare. They just look horrible. I want to see, has it been put out, his Toxic Avenger remake?
The trailer is out, but I don't know. Is he a hypocrite? 'Cause I'm pretty sure that since he's a little person or whatever, isn't that kind of the butt of the joke? He's like, then he becomes a Toxic Avenger. So he's talking out both sides of his ass.
Yeah. Let's catch up on some comments here. Thomas says he's got coons, possums, and raccoons. Yep, I got all three. Akers is here. I come to the conclusion that it might be too difficult for me to pick out each movie from each year because I like so many of them. Yeah, I kind of have. There's some that I'll sway back and forth.
Yeah, it's hard, but then some years were duds too, to where I'm looking through them like, oh, I didn't like that one, didn't like that one, didn't like that one, okay, I like that one.
I like Big John Studd.
Oh yeah, that was a wrestler from back in the day. He was a big old dude. He had a big beard.
And yeah, Thomas heard that the Snow White was a disaster. Yeah, I did too. I heard it was. Yeah.
I like the Lion King one and the Jungle Book, the live action one, but now it seems like they're just getting lazy, and they're just like, well, we're just going to do the same thing, but make it live act or CG or whatever, because is it really live action if it's all computer generated,
Yeah.
or realistic or whatever. Yeah. But it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know. It's maybe they're getting a little lazy, and why don't you come up with a new princess or a new prince or something, or tell a new story?
Exactly. Well, across the board, that's what I want everyone to do. Tell new stories. Tell something different. We've gotten some good ones. We've gotten some good, there've been some good movies come out. They've also been just dipping into the same well over and over again too. But anyway, you picked up a few things. Usually you got some things to show off, and you picked up a few movies and such.
Yeah, I thought that Walmart got some stuff. I got and this is the kind of movies I'm more into now, I guess, is like the Vincent Price collection. I watched Dr. Phibes today, and The Pit and the Pendulum, which is one of my favorite ones because that dude, he's all tied up and that thing's like. If Vincent Price just looks like Satan and he's like, and he's like pulling the chains. I like that one.
I love
And then
Dr. Five.
then I got Dog Man.
I've been accused of interrupting you too much, and I'll try to cut down on that.
But Dr. Phibes, though, don't you think that the end of that movie, Saw, might have been inspired by that? Because the doctor has to cut the key out the kid, and there's that acid thing, and it's like, you got 6 minutes.
I don't. Not only is it influenced the Saw movies, but I think it's influenced the Final Destination movies too, because the way he kills people is kind of, you know.
Yeah, he got real lucky on some of those. You know, if the person just wasn't in the right spot. You know, but I like them, but that's kind of more. I'm more into the Gothic monsters and Universal Hammer stuff more now. So I picked that up. Then I got Dog Man just because this looks cool because it's like this cop, he gets killed and this dog gets shot, and in order to save him, they have to put the dog's head on the policeman's body, and so he becomes Dog Man, and he has to fight crime. But he's like a dog. So he has like all the strengths of a dog and all the strengths of a man. Dog Man. Then I got the Wolf Man. So I got Dog Man and the Wolf Man, got a steelbook. And yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Is this the recent Wolf Man?
Oh, hell no. That movie stuck. This is the Lon Chaney one.
Oh, okay. Lon Chaney. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the new Wolf Man was terrible. I didn't like it. And I felt bad because I made my buddy Lewis take me to see it, and I fell asleep, and he got mad and woke me up, and I had to watch it, and it was pretty bad.
Acre says, checkout price in Champagne for Caesar. It's not horror, but it's fun. And for example, the British drama filmmaker Mike Leigh, each year that he makes a movie, it is the best movie of each year, but very few people have seen his movies. I don't know if I've seen Mike Leigh. I probably have seen some of his stuff, but it's not coming to me right away.
And then I got the They Live steelbook, and I was going to get the WWE had a action figure, but there was only one left, and it looked like someone took a poop on the box or something, or spit jawbacker on it. So I just got the steelbook of They Live, which is pretty cool. It's hard to see on camera, but it's pretty cool.
Cool.
And then I got me a big old brick because I eat a lot of this hog head cheese. I got me a big old 2-pound brick of hog head cheese.
Now you said HEB carries it. I need to see if they got it at the Bahia HEB, but I want to try it because my daddy liked.
Yeah, I got this one from Slovacek's, but you can buy it at HEB.
My daddy liked head cheese. I don't know if I probably have tried it. I just don't remember what it tasted like. Obviously, I didn't like it because I didn't keep eating it. And of course, that's the line that everyone quotes from Texas Chainsaw Massacre is Edwin Newton talking about head cheese. But I want to try it, I'll just throw if I don't like it, I'll throw the rest of the cats or the raccoon or whatever shows up.
Now I just need to find the place that makes the beef and the one from the sheep. I had the beef one time, but all I can find everywhere is just a hog one. But it's good. It looks disgusting, but it's good.
Hog head cheese. Well, what we've been doing for, I don't know, how many episodes is it? This is the 5th, 6th one, whatever. Well, we started the year we were born, and we've been going every year picking our favorite movie of those years. And I need to cut to the chase a little more because I've been going and naming off all these different movies that were released during these different years. I'll name a few, but I'm going to cut to the chase because you're gonna. I don't know if you're going to finish today, but you're going to finish pretty soon. I've still got quite a ways to go because I'm like twice as old as you are. But where did you leave off? And what are you up to now?
The last, I think, if memory serves, we're on 2019 because the last one we talked about was Mandy, or I think, or did we talk about The Lighthouse? I think we talked about The Lighthouse, which was 2019.
I
So we'd be on
Mandy and The Lighthouse.
Okay, so then I'd be on 2020, which is the Invisible Man remake that came out a couple years ago. And that one was a good one. It's just, it's a different, like I said, that's the way remakes should be. You know, they take the skeleton of the story and they make it a little different. So instead of a guy with a potion, you know, he has an invisible suit and he's an abuser and he's going after this woman and they think she's crazy, but he's like really there messing with her and shit. And it's pretty cool. You know, it's a fun movie. That's why I was so disappointed in the new Wolfman because this one was awesome.
It's from the same director.
Yeah.
And of course, when they show clips of, you know, the best scenes from different horror movies, of course they show Terrifier 2. They'll show that there's the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2, and, you know, whatever. But of course, the scene in the Invisible Man remake is the woman that's being terrorized by her invisible husband, or ex-husband. I don't know if she's divorced him yet or not, but anyway, she's at a restaurant sitting at a table with her sister. It is her sister, isn't it?
I think so.
And
yeah,
all of a sudden, her hand comes up and a knife appears in her hand, and she slits her sister's throat. Now, she's not doing that. It's her husband, invisible, making her do that. But it's so sudden. It happens so quick, you know, her slitting her sister's throat. And she's like, oh, fuck. That's the big jump scare or a big jump scene in that Invisible Man remake. But it is a really good movie. It's it's
a fun one. It's a different take on it. And I don't know, I liked it. And it's kind of a scary thought to where people think you're doing something and it's not really you and you're going crazy. Yeah, it's good. It's a good movie. Yeah. Wolfman, the new Wolfman, not so much.
I want to see it, but I haven't. I don't. And I watched the Cody Leach. I watched his stuff, and he really trashed it, you know, and said the same thing. He had high hopes for it because of the director and what he's done, but yeah, he said no.
Fucking mangy Wolfman. How you gonna lose hair when you become the Wolfman? That makes no damn sense.
Well, like the concept sounded interesting. That transforming into a Wolfman, kind of like Jeff Goldblum transforming into the Fly. You know, kind of a slow process. You know, that sounds interesting, but he says it doesn't work.
No, doesn't work.
Okay, well, I'm at 1989, and I'm going to get right to it. My favorite movie of 1989 is Christmas Vacation. I watch it every year. I watch it every Christmas. It's like I watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every November, every Thanksgiving. And around Christmas time, I watch Christmas Vacation. It's Chevy Chase at his funniest. I never was a huge fan of Chevy Chase. You know, I like some of his stuff. You know, but he's at his peak in Christmas Vacation. And old Randy Quaid before he went crazy. And you know, Shitter's Fool, all kinds of lots of classic lines from that.
You could take a picture with the Shitter Man if you go to the Lights of West around Christmas time. They have that drive-through lights. They have like a dummy with the shitter, and you could take a picture with them. I did it. I put my arm around it, just like
Shitter's Fool.
Shitter's Fool, yeah.
Anyway,
it's a
hilarious.
Good one.
It's hilarious. And what was a movie that like say when Acres talking, there'd be so many movies, it'd be hard to choose. The one that was almost got it, but Christmas Vacation won it because I watched this. I watched Christmas Vacation more than this one, but Batman came out 1989.
Oh, yeah, dang, that's a tough choice.
Yeah, Tim Burton's Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Kim Basinger. But Christmas Vacation is going to be the movie I'm going to watch the most often. So, yeah, that's my 1989 Christmas Vacation.
My 2021 one is I thought this is a movie that surprised me because I thought it is based on the trailer. I thought it was going to be kind of like a joke movie, but it was a Nicolas Cage in Pig, and it was actually a really good drama. And I was surprised by it because I thought it was just going to be a dumb movie, but when I watched it, I was like, "Damn, it's really emotional and shit," you know.
I've heard Nicolas Cage say that that's his favorite movie. Now,
Dude, that movie was he deserved an Oscar for that. He really did. But whoever advertised that movie or did the marketing, God, they did a disservice because they made it look like it was going to be like a shitty like a Wicker Man reboot or something, you know. But it was really good. You know, he has a truffle pig, and some people come and kidnap it, and it's him trying to reconnect with his pet, and there's all this stuff with his wife and the character that, you know, shows up that's involved within it. And I don't want to spoil too much, but it's a really, really good film and very emotional. And it has a real sad ending to it that kind of sticks with you. So, yeah, Pig, Nicolas Cage.
Good choice. Yeah,
It's just whoever did that trailer, man, they did a disservice to the movie because they made it look like it would be like a shitty film, and it wasn't. It was really good. And he deserved an Oscar. He really did. I thought he deserved an award for that one because that was a really good film.
And I don't know if it still is because it was a few years ago I saw an interview with Nicolas Cage that said that was his favorite. As far as his own performance, it's his own favorite movie, is Pig. So, yeah. Well, definitely a good choice. My 1990 choice. Now, it was a close call because Goodfellas came out that year, and I love Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, you know, of course, Joe Pesci, you know, and of course Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta. It's a classic mobster movie, Goodfellas. But the one that I watch the most often is Rob Reiner's Misery with Kathy Bates and James Caan. And Kathy Bates won Best Actress that year for her performance.
Buddy Daddy or whatever the hell she says, her little sayings.
He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car. She has a bunch of those, yeah. But yeah, great performance by Kathy Bates, and based on a Stephen King book. I'm a big Stephen King fan, so and Rob Reiner was just one of the best directors out there at the time. You know, during the 80s, early 90s, but yeah, Misery. That's the one I'm going to go to the most often because, like I say, Goodfellas is a classic. Total Recall came out that year. Miller's Crossing, Dances with Wolves.
That scene where she hobbles him with that hammer in his foot was just woof.
In the book, she cuts his foot off. But it was a good choice.
I think that her breaking his leg or whatever kind of works better for film because in a way he just like bleed out and die, you know, the more you think about it.
No, but she takes out a blowtorch and she cauterizes it with a blowtorch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a little
too much. It's been a while since I read the book. I read the book in high school years ago.
Yeah, that'd be a little too much for the movie to just cut his foot off and then, you know, cauterize it with a blowtorch. Acre says, would you like to see a horror movie about cave paintings that come to life and hunt hunters and other people? Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, like some engines or something. So painted it, and the buffalo gets
Uh,
them.
and vacation European in Vegas more. No, not me. The Christmas is the pinnacle of the vacation movies. I like the first movie a lot. I love John Candy. I love him and that. Hey, Kathy. Kathy's here. Hey, Kathy. Uh, but no, Christmas Vacation's it is my favorite vacation movie. Uh, but uh, but yeah, Misery 1990. The great Rob Reiner direction, great performance by Kathy Bates. Uh, Stephen King. Come on, how can you lose? But yeah,
Yeah, the mine's on 2022, and I picked Pearl just because that's another performance that I think deserved to win an award, but I guess just due to the genre, it gets ignored. But
she
Pearl's
should
one of
have.
those movies I like to.
Actress that year.
Yeah,
Mia Goth.
I just love the just the crazy people movies and the slow descent into madness. And like one of my favorite parts of Pearl is there's that pig that they bring over to him, but the mom's too proud to take it, so it just rots on the porch. Like scene after scene, it's just there rotting.
And
And
the
I love that movie,
alligators.
man.
Yeah, the
That movie's
alligators.
great. Yeah, the alligators there. It's just a good film.
That's a
It's
great
really
double. If you're going to watch a double feature, watch X and then watch Pearl. Uh, and both of them are great. I love X, but
I
Pearl.
like the Maxine too. I liked all three of them. Pearl's
See,
the best, I think.
yeah, I haven't seen Maxine yet, but Pearl, one of the best performances by an actress, period, recently, is Mia Goth in Pearl. And there's that long monologue that she gives where she's sitting at a table,
Yeah.
she's talking to her friend, and it goes on for like 10, 15 minutes. It's just, without a cut. And she goes through all these different emotions. She cries. Just one of the best performances, period, by an
Yeah.
actress.
And the whole time you're like the whole time when I was in the theater and the other people too, because I could kind of see with the lights, everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Because she's just rambling and going on and going on.
It's a
It
great.
just
I
it's
love that scene.
crazy.
No, I love that
I
scene.
love it, but everyone
And
was shocked. They're like, "Damn!" Because you could see like she's going crazy and mad, and everyone in the theater, like my audience, liked it, and I liked it.
and that final shot with that smile,
Yeah,
that just
that
goes
poor
through the
guy
whole
comes.
credit.
Her
And,
poor husband comes home from war to all that crazy
and
shit. I feel for him.
she's killed people, and then and then that smile, and then she starts crying again, the tears coming down. It's just a fantastic performance. Mia Goth, yeah, I want to see anything she's in. Mia Goth. Um, and Kathy says, please read the stream a thumbs up. Yes, we really appreciate it. We sure do. And yes, yes, yes. Uh, okay, but great choice. Yeah. When I get to that year, Pearl may very well be my choice also. uh, but anyway, I'm at 1991, and I'll get right to it. My favorite movie, the one I'm going to watch the most often, is Silence of the Lambs. Uh, and yeah, that's going to be the let me pull up uh, 1991 films, but um, that's going to be the one that I watch the most often. Uh, and well, yeah, uh, Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins, uh, you know, uh, Jodie Foster, and just
I
almost.
love the way that movie's shot because I never realized it until I watched it recently. But even like scenes when she's in the elevator surrounded by all those men, just kind of the way they look at her and stuff, it's almost like a fish out of water type thing too, which I kind of dig.
Yeah, and got Jonathan Demme, director. Um, uh, it's and it won all the Oscars then. I mean, Jodie Foster won Best Actress, I think. Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor. It won Best Picture. It swept the Oscars, which was unusual for a movie like that that's so kind of gory and scary. It's almost like a horror movie, slasher film.
It is a horror film, but they don't want to call it that. They call it psychological thriller because it just makes the fancy people feel better or something.
But no, it's a horror movie, but yeah.
Yeah, it made me hungry just thinking about it. He talked about them fava beans and stuff, and it's like, damn, that sounds good. Yeah, and then he got that lamb chop and everything.
But yeah, so yeah, that's the one I'm going to go to the most often from that year. But yeah, let's see. I'm not going to go through a long list, but Terminator 2 came out. That's a close one. JFK, Boys in the Hood, the remake of Cape Fear with Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear, Nick Nolte, Jessica Lange. That's a good one. Thelma and Louise came out that year. But anyway, yeah, Silence of the Lambs. And it's number one on the list here, too. So, but yeah. That's
it did. Just the Buffalo Bill character, too. I really enjoy that. He was she a big old fat person?
Was she a real fat person?
And then he's like dancing in the mirror.
Was she a real fat?
I was actually a part of a horror group, and I posted a picture of a Buffalo Bill action figure from the dancing scene. And apparently a bunch of people reported it, and I had the person from the group message me and was like, can you please remove the post of the Buffalo Bill hide the penis doll? It's very offensive or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I just remember that every time I think of that movie. And I have friends that are friends that are transgender. It doesn't bother me or whatever. That's just a funny scene, and that's a fun. I think it's almost like a black comedy.
And I've heard
it is. It's almost like
in the book. It doesn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
The transgender stuff isn't in the book. That was put in the movie, but it's not in the original book. But it just makes it that much creepier. And of course, Ted Levine. Come on. His performance,
They even say in the movie that Hannibal Lecter's he thinks he's a transvestite, but he's really not a true transsexual. He just wants to be. He's just a confused boy, a little Bill. And then he goes off to some tangent about go find the lambs, Clarice, or whatever. Yeah, so I don't know, but I thought it does come off as hilarious, and maybe they intended it to be like that. Where they're like, have you seen this woman? Yeah, it's hilarious, Disturbing movie, but it has some funny parts to it,
Ted Levine. He's got a great voice, Ted Levine. What was it where he comes over the CB and he's chasing them in a diesel and chasing these people down? What is that movie? But it's Ted Levine is the voice of the guy.
Is it Joyride? It
might be Joyride, yeah. But that's Ted Levine is his voice, and he's got a great creepy voice.
Dude, Dead Pit should try to interview him, and he can be all like, "You're listening to Dead Pit Talk Radio." Freaking awesome. My next one is a really sad movie, and it's interesting because it's Iron Claw. And I knew about the Von Erichs, and my buddy didn't. And apparently, there was a bunch of teenage girls that are like, Zac Efron, oh my God. And they're in line, and I guess they thought it was going to be like some Zac Efron movie or something. And spoiler alert, it's real depressing, and there's suicides and drug overdoses. And yeah, it's an Iron Claw. It's a good film about the Von Erichs. And I don't know how much I can go in. Well, it's already. A lot of it's public knowledge, but their dad's real hard on them and shit, and and they get depressed, and some of them one of them dies of natural causes, and then the other brothers commit suicide. And Zac Efron's character, Kevin, has to kind of deal with a bunch of stuff, like losing his brothers and business going bad, and Fritz, which I don't know. I feel like maybe the movie might have been a little unfair to Fritz because I don't think a dad would be that hard on his kids. But then again, you don't know. But it's kind of a.
This came out recently, didn't it? Like last year?
Yeah, 2023.
Or 23, okay.
Yeah, because it's a really good film. It's very well made, well acted, and that's another one that Zac Efron should have won an Oscar for that, but the film came out a little too late. But they gave it an Oscar spotlight. But it's really well made too. Like there's this famous match with the Freebirds where like the Von Erichs, they all hit the ring at the same time, and all the punches are everything's in sync. Just the way the camera moves and they slide in, and just the way it's shot's really well made. There's an opening sequence that's in black and white with Fritz that's shot really well. It's just a well-made film, and like the way the camera work and all that stuff, it's gorgeous to look at. Because just the way the camera moves.
I want to see that.
All the performances are good, but good God, the dude who they got to play Ric Flair it's like the shits, but it's like so bad it's good. Like the dude who played Ric Flair is so bad it's good. It's like hilarious, like how bad it is. But everybody else was good. Like the dude who played Harley Race was good, and it's a good movie. It's just it's so depressing because it's just bad event after bad event after bad event. Things get a little better. Bad shit happens. Bad shit happens.
Are they all gone? All passed away?
Just Kevin's around and his sons are wrestling, and I think like one of the daughters is, but I think all the brothers are pretty much dead. And the director got a lot of hate from fans because they removed a brother from the movie. But him and the wrestler Chavo Guerrero that worked on the film thought it would be too much to have another suicide, and they didn't think the audience would want to have that much, like depressing stuff in the movie. Because it's one of those things where, yeah, it's real life, but it was like it just would have been too much for a film, so they wrote one of the brothers out of it.
I think the first one passed away. It was called Toxic Shock Syndrome.
Oh no, that was Mike. He ended up committing suicide, but it's real sad because he was one that after he got toxic shock, they tried to get him to wrestle again, and in the movie, he's kind of like mentally challenged after that because I guess it messed up his brain. But even you could go on like YouTube and stuff and see like the real life press conference, and you could tell that guy was not the same, like brain wise and shit.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just really weird that they would even like try to get him to wrestle again because it's like the guy's. You could tell by looking at him that he had brain damage or something from toxic shock. The first one died in Japan, and in the movie, it's like he has something wrong with him. But then there's always been legend that he died of a drug overdose, and the wrestler Bruiser Brody like flushed the pills and shit, and they kind of like covered it up. So you don't really. So in real life, did he die of a drug overdose? Did he die naturally? We don't know.
And what year is that?
2023. I don't want to make speculation, but that was always a story that a lot of the wrestlers would tell on the shoot interviews was that Bruiser Brody and a lot of those guys kind of just went in there and flushed a bunch of pills and shit before the Japanese authorities came. And Bruiser Brody was another one that worked for World Class that got stabbed in the shower and died in Puerto Rico. And there was another wrestler in World Class called Gino Hernandez that he died under mysterious circumstances, but he was probably murdered because he had cocaine like in his stomach. So it's like that. It's a real. If you think Iron Claw is depressing, you should watch the documentary Heroes of World Class because it's like a bunch of dead people. either by suicides or drug overdoses or murders or stuff like that.
What do you think that is, that just that particular profession, wrestling, has
It's
so many people?
fame, I guess maybe fame and drugs, but also a lot of those guys would work, 5, 6 times, a day, and they would damn near work 300 days a year, especially the WWF guys will work like 300 days a year. And even though it's scripted, you're still putting your body through a lot of pain. So a lot of those guys would take painkillers to get through, but they would also take uppers so they could travel, because a lot of times they would drive their own cars or catch airplanes. And so it was like uppers, downers, steroids.
It's a performance that they're giving, and I can imagine, and physically, the demands that it takes on them physically.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of them take steroids and things like
And
that.
you also had the Grahams in Florida that were similar to the Von Erichs, where they killed themselves too a lot of times too, with suicides and drug overdoses and stuff. It's a weird, like, no other sport or whatever has that many deaths as like wrestling does. And especially that promotion, World Class from Dallas, because there's another wrestler named Chris Adams. Gentleman Chris Adams, he was a guy from the UK, but he got killed because he was a real abusive alcoholic, and he tried to attack his roommate, and he was going to gouge his roommate's eye out, and the roommate pulled a gun out from under the bed and blew his brains out.
Well, there's another one you brought up in an earlier show. He basically killed his family, killed his wife and his kids.
That was Chris Benoit. And then Jimmy Snuka might have murdered his wife, but it was one of those deals to where for some reason they couldn't get him. But then when they had enough evidence, he was like 80 and had Alzheimer's. So he basically got away with it. It's a crazy profession. I'm telling you, like, there's a documentary series called Dark Side of the Ring. I think you would really get an interesting look at that, because you kind of see patterns with each one, with I guess how the business was at that time. Because it's almost like you watch them and you're like, okay, this is kind of like the other guy getting the drugs, stuff like that, and either they OD or they commit suicide or something bad happens.
Well, that's the thing with wrestling is I like watching the documentaries about wrestling more than I actually like watching wrestling. Just watching all the behind the scenes stuff, and I definitely want to see that movie.
Zac Efron did a really good job in the film, and it's a real sad part at the end. He's sitting there and he's watching his kids play and he's crying, and he's like, well, you shouldn't see a man cry. And then his son's like, well, we cry all the time. And it's like, why are you crying? He's like, I had 4 brothers. Now I'm not even a brother. And then the movie kind of ends. And it's just a sad, and that's actually a real quote from I don't know, did you ever watch A Current Affair back in the day?
I have seen some of them, yeah.
Yeah, they did one on the Von Erichs, and that was taken from that documentary, to where he said, I was once a little brother, now I'm not even a brother. Yeah, you have Fritz saying, please don't take no more of my kids, God, and all kinds of crazy. Like I said, it's a whole depressing situation, but for a movie that's an hour and a half, you can only fit so much in there. And I thought they did good for what it was. It was tastefully done, It's just none of the wrestlers look like the Von Erichs. They're all kind of small. Like, especially the guy who played Kerry was kind of small. Kerry was huge.
And once again, the title of the movie.
Yeah, Iron Claw. Good film. A24, like I said, so it looks pretty, and they get the time period down really good, the A24
film. Pretty much like all the A24 movies I've seen. And, of course, they did Pearl and X, and they did Lighthouse, and there's so many movies A24 does. So I definitely want to see that. Iron Claw.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took so long for them to make a movie about that, because I remember back on the IMDb message boards, and this was like back when I was in junior high, there was talks about like the a film about the Von Erichs, and it just never got made, and maybe A24 just picked up, or what's that called, Development Hell or whatever it is. But it's a good film. I like it. Depressing as all hell, but well shot.
Well, I'm up to 1992. And a few that were released that year. Reservoir Dogs. I love Reservoir
Hell
Dogs.
yeah.
With that the ear thing. Sensible Woman. A Few Good Men. You Can't Handle the Truth. Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise. Rob Reiner
Right.
again as director. Francis Coppola's Dracula with Gary Oldman as Dracula. Great performance by Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
And
He looks kind of ridiculous with the hair, but I like that movie.
Anthony Hopkins is in that too. Batman Returns. Tim Burton's Batman Returns with Michael Keaton. Danny DeVito as the Penguin. I love his performance. But anyway, my favorite movie of 1992 is Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a movie that examines, the classic Western shootouts and the gunmen. It looks at how a person like that's lived killing, the regrets he has, and the torment that he goes through in his later life, where he's been this, killer, and he's lived his life killing people, fighting and shooting people and killing people. And now in his later life, he's asked to return to that lifestyle again. There's a whore's been cut up, her face has been cut up, and the prostitutes gather money to hire Clint Eastwood to come out of retirement and track down the man that had cut up this prostitute's face. And just great performance. Clint Eastwood directed, and of course he stars in it. Just
Morgan Freeman does a good job too in it.
Sir?
Morgan Freeman, Gene Hackman. It's an all-star cast.
Yeah, Gene Hackman. Of course, he passed away tragically recently. Morgan Freeman, yeah.
And the thing I like about that movie too is Clint Eastwood's vulnerable at the beginning. He can't even ride a horse anymore, So so instead of Clint Eastwood being this badass, he's kind of like a shell of his former self, and it's good to see him in a more vulnerable role.
He's got a wife and kids. Did the wife pass away?
Yeah, the wife is dead. The kids are there.
He's got two kids. I think it's two kids. Anyway, he's got kids, and he's asked to, he needs money. He needs the money, and asked to kind of come out of retirement, and enter that world again as a killer. And Gene Hackman, great performance by Gene Hackman as this asshole was sheriff. He's a sheriff of this town.
There's that great scene because, one of the guys who's with Clint Eastwood, he has bad vision and he wants to be able to get glasses, so that's why he's doing it. And then, he wants to give the money back. He's like, well, you already killed him. It's a hell of a thing killing a man. That famous scene. It's like, you might as well take your money and go get your glasses. You already killed him.
What does it say? It's a hell of a thing killing a man. You
take everything he has.
Everything he is and everything he will be, or everything he was, everything
he
will be. But yeah, classic movie, classic.
And there's that great scene. My favorite scene is when he rides into town and he sees Morgan Freeman hung up there. And so he walks in the bar and normally in cowboy movies, they draw, he just bam, he shoots the guy. And then I think it was Gene Hackman or someone's like, he was unarmed. He's like, well, he should have armed himself if he's going to decorate the bar with my friend.
Yeah. Of course, well, hell with spoilers. This is as old as this movie is. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. But when he's got shotgun on Gene Hackman, and and he's telling he's killed women and children. He goes, yeah, I've killed women and children. I'm about to kill you, little Bill. And I love that. I love that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that scene with him and Morgan Freeman, to where he's like, "You remember when I?" He doesn't say something like he shot a guy in the teeth that went through the back of the dude's head or something, or something like that. Morgan Freeman's like, "What?" But yeah, it's a good film, and I like it.
If you're a fan of westerns, you got to see it. It's a modern western, and it examines the the typical western hero. It examines their life and the way that they live, and the repercussions of living that kind of life. So,
Yeah, because he has a lot of regrets and stuff, and it's a good film. My next one is I'm already on. I didn't pick one for 2025 because it ain't over yet. But my last one was 2024, and it's Nosferatu, or however he talks in that.
that accent, man, how did he do that? It's like shit. And you would imagine it's probably manipulated to a certain extent.
They said that he had some kind of some lady who did like opera or something, like work with him to get his voice low. And I'm sure they done something to it technological wise, but it is like he talks like this and rolls his eyes. It's a good gothic movie. See, I wish they made more horror movies like this, because I like the old Castle movies, and monster films, and I think they did a good job of making, Nosferatu, or basically Dracula, scary again, because he's a scary Count Orlok is a scary Dracula type character. His name's Orlok, but it's Dracula,
Well,
and they made him scary again.
The original Nosferatu basically told the story of Dracula, and the widow of the man who wrote Dracula sued him, and they ordered all the prints destroyed, but a few survived. So that's why we're still able to watch the classic silent Nosferatu, because a few prints survived. But she won that lawsuit because he said, you're telling the Dracula story, and didn't get permission, didn't get paid for it, and you're telling the Dracula story. So yeah, I mean, you gave me the code for that. I've seen it twice. Bill Skarsgård, of course, he played Pennywise in the It films, recent It films. Yeah, great performance by him. And
Willem Dafoe's on it. It's a good. I just like, because they made him scary again, and I know some people didn't like the design of him with the mustache, but I like it because it's kind of like Vlad the Impaler, kind of like the corpse of Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, he's got this sort of bushy mustache. That was
I dug it.
It kind of took me. I got used to it, but when I first saw it, I said, he's got this bushy mustache. Because you look at the original Nosferatu and the remake that Werner Herzog made, where he's bald.
It's almost like when he kills people or drinks their blood, he drinks from their chest and he's on top of them, and it looks almost like he's like almost like a sexual thing too, which how they filmed it. And it's a good film. I'd recommend seeing it. It's now, granted, it's long as hell, so you got to make sure you have enough time in the day to knock it out. But it's a good movie.
Well, no, I really enjoyed it, man, and it's really good. And that director, because he did the Witch and several others that I really like. So, and that's your last one, my gosh. But stick around, because, but yeah, 2020 was it? That's 2024. Yeah, it was last year. Yeah. Okay. My 1993 movie is, hang on, let me see. Let me pull up a few that came out that year before I get to my choice. Okay. Schindler's List came out then. The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. Dazed and Confused. That's not my number one, but I love Dazed and Confused.
That's a good one.
All right. Matthew McConaughey. But anyway, my number one movie of 1993 is Groundhog Day. Harold Ramis directed. Of course, Bill Murray. That's the one that I watch that maybe once a year. I watch Groundhog Day. I don't watch it I don't watch it on Groundhog Day, but I probably watch that once a year. I love Groundhog Day. I love Bill Murray's performance in it. He's a newsman and covers, news events, and he's a bit of an asshole. He doesn't like people. He's very sarcastic, but he has to go cover the Groundhog's Day event, and so he goes to whatever the town is, Punxsutawney Field or whatever. And cover the groundhog event, when the groundhog comes out, whether he's going to see his shadow or not. We're going to have more winter or whatever. And he wakes up the next morning and it's the same day. And he keeps repeating the same day over and over and over again. And it's a story about taking stock of yourself and fixing what's broke about yourself. Looking at how people perceive you, how you act with other people, and make some changes if changes need to be made. So you get Bill Murray that keeps repeating the same day over and over and over again, and he learns how to do good things and to interact with people in a nice way, and to make some changes, some personal changes that he needed to make anyway, and learns a lesson, a valuable lesson at the end of the movie. And Andy McDowell's in it. I like her in it. So, but anyway, yeah, that's my 1993 Groundhog Day. Okay. And did you have anything to say about Groundhog Day?
It's one of those movies that it was kind of like always on AMC, so it's kind of like E.T. and the other ones that we talked about, to where it's like, it's just one of those things where I guess it was on so much, I just got burnt out on it. Like, it's a well-made movie and everything, but I guess it's just not for me, I'm just seeing it too much. I'm tired of it.
Kathy said she didn't like it either, and I was like, "How could you not like Groundhog Day?" She said she didn't.
I just think it was just on so much, just like that damn Christmas Story. They ran that into the ground. Like when I was a little kid, I was at my grandparents' house. They had the basic cable, and there wasn't too much to choose from. And that Christmas Story was on like all dang day, just over and over. And so now I could
the TBS or TNT.
Yeah, I could go my whole life without seeing A Christmas Story because it's just burned in my brain. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. Okay, and we're not going to go to you because you're done. So, 1994, and this was a close one because Pulp Fiction came out that year, and Pulp Fiction, it was one of the movies that made me want to make movies. What Quentin Tarantino did with Pulp Fiction, telling the story sort of out of sync, and just the direction and the performances by John Travolta and Samuel Jackson, Uma Thurman. He changed sort of the landscape of movies at the time when he made Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino. And it had a big impact on me on just, it made me want to do it. It made me want to make movies, which I eventually, in very, 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 very low budget, but I was able to do it.
A Royale with cheese. Yeah, it's a quotable movie too.
Yeah, very quotable. Yeah. my number one movie of 1994 is Frank Darabont's Shawshank Redemption, with Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. Another Stephen King story. The Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption, I think, is the short story it's based on. It's a prison. It takes place in a prison, and one of just my all-time favorite movies. Period. Just a story of a man who's accused of killing his wife and her lover. He didn't do it, but he goes to prison for it. Morgan Freeman becomes his friend. He's the guy that can get things. Morgan Freeman in the prison, and just a story of dealing with being in a prison and dealing with the warden of the prison, the guy that runs the prison, and just great all around. Just a great movie, great direction.
Yeah, it's a real good film, and it's that's one of those movies that they played on cable a lot, so I watched it quite a bit. It's almost the Morgan Freeman narration. Normally narrating in movies kind of doesn't work for me, but it works really well in this film. Like, Andy Dufresne went through the tunnels of shit. Wonder what it was like. Maybe I don't want to know, or whatever it was. It's a good film. I liked it, and I forgot the actor's name, but he was in the Tales from the Crypt TV series. But the one that listened to Hank Williams records and stuff. You know which one? The guy I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good, well-made film, and it's the way how he escapes is really interesting too, because he kind of has to work his way up and get the warden's trust, and it's a very, very good movie.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies that it would be great to see it in a theater. I saw it in the theater when it came out. I saw it, but it's one of those movies like Jaws and 2001: A Space Odyssey and things like that. It's just a great movie to see in a theater on a big screen, because it's a big, sort of an epic movie in a way. The way that it's shot. It's a big widescreen movie.
Well, the prison's a character itself, pretty much. Just the way how big it is and shot, and it takes place in the old timey days, and real interesting film. And one of my favorite scenes is when Morgan Freeman sees a parole board. They never let him go, and he's like, "You're wasting my time. I don't give a shit if you let me out. I got things I got to do or whatever." And it's just like approved, and they let him out. Yeah.
And I like the last.
Did you remember when he put the record on, and then Morgan Freeman was like, "I don't know what that lady was singing about, or maybe I don't want to know." That's what it was.
Yeah. And I like the last line in the movie. I hope.
Yeah. It's a good.
I hope.
It's a good film. That one and Escape from Alcatraz, it would be a good double feature.
And Green Mile. The other
Green Mile. Yeah, Green Mile. That's another depressing one too.
The other Stephen King prison movie that Frank Darabont directed.
And it has that same guy, the Hank Williams dude. He's in that movie too. He's sitting in the crowd or something. Stephen King, man. He's known as a horror guy, but he wrote non-horror stuff.
Well, it's like Stand By Me.
Was based on The Body.
The Body, he's great at writing characters. Stephen King. He's great at writing people and different kinds of people, but that is my 1994 Shawshank Redemption. Okay, hang on. We're at 1995. And like you said, that there's some years that are kind of duds. 1995, I think, was kind of for me, kind of a dud. There's some good movies. 12 Monkeys, I like. Seven, very dark movie. Seven, very dark and grisly, but once again, Morgan Freeman with Brad Pitt, David Fincher directed. Seven. What's in the box? What's in the box?
That man, if I shine my light in his eyes, he'll go into shock. He doesn't have, but he has a lot of suffering and hell to awaits him, or whatever that doctor says in Seven.
But the one that I'm going to go to the most often and watch, and I watched it here recently, is Ron Howard's Apollo 13. I really like true stories like that, and the way they captured just the look of everything. It looks very authentic. And of course, Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, Kevin Bacon, Ron Howard directed. And it's based on a true story where it was astronauts basically were the plan was to go to the moon. But I forget what the year is, late 60s, early 70s. And people were kind of tired of it. We'd been to the moon 2 or 3 times, and they're like, So they wasn't paying a whole lot of attention when Apollo 13 launched to go to the moon. There's like, they'll watch soap operas or whatever, But it was like an oxygen tank or something on the capsule exploded. And so they're not going to have enough oxygen to go to the moon and get back to Earth. They wouldn't survive. They got to come back. And figuring out how they're going to do that, how they're going to abandon the mission and get back to Earth. Just the way they go through that step-by-step process, figuring out how they're going to do it, talking to the, was it Cape Canaveral or whatever, NASA, we have a problem. Of course, Tom Hanks. And it's very authentic, realistic. They actually, to film the scenes where they're weightless, where they go up in a plane and they dive down towards the earth and people can float. That's how they filmed those scenes. In a jet or plane, where they would actually be weightless during those scenes. And they had to do that over and over and over again, But anyway, yeah. I like movies like that are based on true stories, and it feels very real, feels very authentic. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one, but I remember that's a pretty good one. And how would you like to be the real life people stuck up there? I would have sucked.
Well, just not even knowing if you're going to make it back to Earth, because oxygen is running out. And they figured out, basically, they've got to go around the moon, sort of loop around the moon, and come back. They figured out that's what they have to do, and been talking to to Earth and figuring out how we're going to do this, how we're going to get back, and they have to go loop around the moon to come back. Fascinating. But yeah, that is my 1995 Apollo 13. All right. My 1996, and I'm pulling up a list here. Train Spotting came out that year. Independence Day, Mission Impossible, Brian De Palma's Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, Wes Craven's Scream, which that kind of changed the landscape of horror films at the time. Scream. From Dusk Till Dawn, that's a lot of fun. Robert Rodriguez directed. Harvey Keitel, And Quentin Tarantino's in it, and but my favorite movie of 1996, one of my favorite movies, period, is the Coen Brothers' Fargo, and with Frances McDormand and William H. Macy, Steve Buscemi, or Buscemi, Steve Buscemi, Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, he's one of those actors I always like just in anything.
Yeah, me too. But great performance by Frances McDormand. Was it Marge? And it takes place in what was it, Minnesota? And the way they're like, yeah, the way they talk, yeah. Yeah, it's a good day, yeah. And that accent, the way they talk, and just the way they talk, the way they present themselves, very friendly, never have a bad word to say about it to anybody. Yeah, oh yeah, real good then. Yeah, I love it. I think she won Best Actress that year, Frances McDormand. She's pregnant, and she's a police officer on the hunt, and William H. Macy, he's an idiot. He hires these two criminals to kidnap his wife so that he can split the ransom money with them. And of course, everything goes wrong. And but anyway, great movie, great the look of it, because everything's dirt, snow on the ground everywhere. It's wintertime, and just that performance by Frances McDormand, and yeah, Fargo. Anything to say about Fargo?
I don't remember it. I know I seen it years ago, but I don't recall it.
Okay. But yeah, that is one of my favorite movies, period. Okay, I'm up to 1997. And let's see. Hang on. All right.
I'm drawing a blank on Fargo. That's one of those movies that I know I've seen it. I just don't remember a damn thing about it.
You need to revisit it, and I think it's streaming somewhere. I don't know if it's on the Amazon channel or what. But that's one you need to rewatch, because there's been some that I told you, hey, you need to see this, and I forget what the list I had for you. I had some movies that I told you needed to see, but I forget.
Yeah, I gotta try to get a copy of Raising Arizona or find it on streaming somewhere. And
oh God, yeah. Well,
I watched the King of Comedy that you recommended, and I like that one with Robert De Niro.
Yeah. But anyway, here's another 1997. There's a few movies. Boogie Nights came out that year. That's a really good one. Paul Thomas Anderson directed, with Mark Wahlberg and his fake giant penis at the end. Basically playing John Holmes. Basically, it's basically the story of John Holmes, but he's not. He's got a different name. But about the porn industry in the 70s, and
there's a place in town that has a breakfast burrito called the Big John, and I nicknamed it the Big John Holmes because it's like bigger than my head. I didn't tell the people that. That's just a joke that I tell my friends. I'm like, oh yeah, I got the John Holmes burrito. Like, I want to go up there and like, don't call it that. It's really called the Big John. That's the real name for it. I just call it John Holmes because I'm a prevert.
And a great performance by Burt Reynolds. Like one of the last really good performances by him, Burt Reynolds. And Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights is that's a fun one. It's Burt Reynolds, though. I noticed something, like you said, the last good performance, you think maybe the Botox or something affected his acting a little bit?
I don't know, probably, yeah. And if
'Cause-
I'm remembering, it's a movie that he didn't. I think he was nominated for an Oscar. He didn't win, but I think he was nominated. But I think he was kind of ashamed of it. He was almost ashamed of being in it
because of the subject matter of it, the fact that it was like a
yeah, um, being but about the porn industry and but it's a really good performance by him. He should have been proud of it, but I think he was kind of almost ashamed. What he did it, of course, he took the money and he did it. But I think he was almost kind of ashamed of it, ashamed that he did it. Um, but no,
that's stupid. I would have been like, "Give me my Oscar for the porno movie."
But anyway, yeah, that's my number one for that year, 1997, Boogie Nights. My 1998. Hang on, let me pull up, see if there's any others. See, I'm finding, unfortunately, I'm going to continue, but I'm finding now that we don't have any more movies for you to name, I'm not having as much fun.
Yeah.
and because I knew this was going to happen because you were going to run out a lot quicker than I was. I'm enjoying this now.
I think if we come across a movie that I really like, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Because Boogie Nights is one where I like Boogie Nights, but it's not one that I go to a lot,
I don't go to it a lot, but just of that year, that's the one I'm going to pick
Yeah.
as number one. It ain't one I watch a whole lot.
But they should make a John Holmes biopic. A24, get on that. That dude's life was interesting. If you ever read about his life, he ended up getting AIDS and heroin and all kinds of stuff.
He started to do gay porn at the end of his
career. There's a big conspiracy theory that he did gay porn also to get revenge on like gay people for giving him AIDS or something, or that he knew he had AIDS. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was always a big rumor too.
Huh. And that's someone but that really would be a good story. There was a
really would be.
Who was the actor that played him? But I forget, because in Boogie Nights, there's a scene where there's like a drug deal gone wrong and some people are shot. That actually happened, and John Holmes was involved in that. And there was a movie made about that event and I forget the actor that played John Holmes, but there's a movie about that. So there has been a John Holmes movie, but not really about his career and his life. That would
be interesting. It'd be interesting to see. And he's one of those guys too that I've seen some of his movies, and normally porn actors are terrible, but he was all right with the proper training. I think he could have been a legitimate star.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kay Parker. There was another actress named Kay Parker that was a porn star that I thought she was a pretty good actress too.
Well, now I'm up to 1998. And I had two that I was swinging back and forth. One of them being Sam Raimi's A Simple Plan, with Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton. Just a great movie. And Sam Raimi, who of course did the Evil Dead movies and all that. It's not a horror movie. He showed he could direct just just a straight story. About these two brothers, and one of them, Billy Bob Thornton's kind of slow-witted, Bill Paxton's his older brother or his brother, and they got this friend, Billy Bob Thornton's friend, that he hangs around with and gets drunk with, and they find a crashed plane that's got like $1 million or something. It's got a whole bunch of money. I forget how much money it is. And trying to figure out how they're going to be able to keep this money. Because there was drugs in the plane, so you can tell it was drug money, whatever. And you know, great a great movie about greed and just knowing, you got all this money, how are you going to be able to keep this money? And then, worrying that your brother or the friend of his brother is going to say something and do something wrong and spoil everything. And, the cops are going to find out they've got this money, and everything just gets more and more tense. Just a great movie. Just a great.
I need to add that to my list. So is Billy Bob Thornton like Sling Blade level of mentally challenged, or like how, or is he just?
He's not that bad. He's not that bad. No. He's, he does. He doesn't know about fry potatoes. Not like that. No, he's not that bad. But he's not really.
But he's slow. Yeah, he's not slow. Retarded, but he's slow.
He's not retarded or mentally challenged, but he's slow. I guess you would say slow. He's slow-witted. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But a great performance by him and Bill Paxton too, and great direction by Sam Raimi. Just this escalating tension, and just a great movie. Yeah. Okay. Kathy says, really good. Clint Eastwood up in his years. The Mule. He shows he's still a badass. I haven't seen The Mule. I want to see The Mule.
Oh, The Mule's a good one. That's a real good one. He's like he accidentally like hauls drugs for the cartel. And then after he finds out, he kind of does that to make money, but no one suspects him because he's an old man. He's an old white man, so they don't suspect him for having drugs. So he's like a drug mule.
Huh. Yeah, well, Clinton, he's in his 90s, isn't he? Clint Eastwood. Yeah. But April, Kathy says, my daughter April was visiting her friend in California at 19 years old. They passed the Playboy store, and Ron Jeremy was asleep on the couch by the window. She didn't know who he was, but her friend did, Ron Jeremy. So they saw Ron Jeremy asleep on the couch.
That'd be a sight right there. Ron Jeremy was in a slasher film called Andre the Butcher, and I remember I got a kick out of that. I don't know if you ever seen that.
Huh. Didn't he go to prison? Is he in prison, Ron Jeremy?
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up, but yeah, he's in prison.
And what did he do?
I think it was rape or something, or alleged rape or sexual assault. Something, I don't know all the details. Something along those lines.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, Ron Jeremy was like the guy in porn is kind of like, well, because you see all these porn actors, because John Holmes with this huge member and all that, and they're all fit, muscly, and stuff like that. And
Ron Jeremy was a fat ass.
Ron Jeremy was fat, and instead of like, well, okay.
I wonder because I seen a Ron Jeremy movie one time where he was actually kind of skinny. So I wonder if he like broke in skinny and then just got fat, or maybe there's a bunch.
His early movies he wasn't as fat. Then he got fatter and fatter, and he started.
Maybe it's like maybe like there's a bunch of fat dudes that watch porn and they'll be like, yeah, he's a fat dude and gets women, so I want to watch the fat dude. Yeah, that's what I do when I watch boxing. If there's a fat guy in boxing and he wins, I'm like, hell yeah, the fat guy won. Like Andy Ruiz was fat when he won that fight, and then he became a skinny, and I started rooting against him. Or Butterbean. Butterbean was another fat boxer.
Butterbean?
Yep, his name was Butterbean. Big old fat dude.
But anyway, I'm going to get back to 1998. And my number one is going to be Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks and Matt Damon, Tom Sizemore. And I've always really liked movies about World War II anyway. I like World War II movies. My daddy served, had two uncles that served, 2 or 3 uncles. I know I had at least 2 uncles that served in World War II. And just that time period of being in the, we're living in that time period, being, in a world war, the propaganda, like in movies, they would show the Germans real, real, uh, you know, see Kyle,
Yeah.
and the Japanese, the way Japanese were portrayed.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
and just that whole time period, I just think is fascinating. And just so that was a movie I was really looking forward to seeing anyway.
Yeah,
Of course, it's
it's
Spielberg.
very. The
And,
violence hits me more in war movies too, for some reason.
well, because it's real, it's
Yeah.
this really happened. And the opening sequence in Saving Private Ryan is one of the most amazing battle sequences ever filmed, as far as showing war and the effects of war. It is just amazing. It looks like real people are being shot and killed. And the explosions and just amazing. That opening sequence in Saving Private Ryan is one of the most amazing battle sequences ever filmed of any era, of any time.
It's just like I said, it's very realistic and hard to watch. Makes you think about stuff,
Well, just being in a war and that time period, and there's so many people that were died fighting in the war. Now, my dad didn't fight; he worked on planes, and he got an honorable discharge because he was deaf in one ear because his mother had thrown like a bowl or something at him and him in the ear when he was a kid.
Oh.
But he didn't report it, and when they did a physical and they found out that he was deaf in one ear, they gave him an honorable discharge. But he served for like a year or so, and worked on planes. My daddy, he wanted to be a pilot. He had a pilot's license. He could fly them little twin-engine planes. My daddy did. But when he married my mama didn't want him to fly. So, yeah, just that time period I think is really fascinating. World War II, and that's just a great movie, Saving Private Ryan. So that's my 1998. And I'm going to go up to 2000, and I'm going to end for the day in 2000. But my 1999, once again, another Frank Darabont movie. Once again, another prison movie. And once again, another Stephen King movie, and that is The Green Mile. Yeah. With Tom Hanks and who plays it?
Is it Cuba Gooding? Cuba Gooding, not Cuba Gooding. That's the guy's name. The black dude. Down.
Hang on, I'm going to pull that because it's like John Coffey, like
Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah,
was it Michael Clark Duncan?
Like the drink, but not spelled that way. And the story, it's a prison, and it's prisoners on death row. And what they call the Green Mile, because the cement floor is painted green. And during that final walk to the electric chair, the Green Mile, and Tom Hanks is works at this prison, and this big muscle-bound black man is found with two dead little girls in his arms. And of course, they think he killed those little girls. He didn't kill the little girls. Someone else killed the little girls. He was trying to bring them back. You can say, well, bring them back. How would he do that? Well, he's got powers. His name is John Coffey, and you can get John Coffey, Jesus Christ, JC, and he's a man that's got healing powers. He can heal people. Tom Hanks has got a severe bladder infection, urinary tract infection, and at one point he grabs his groin and the lights flash, and he's cured of his bladder infection. And yeah, great performance by Tom Hanks, great direction by Frank Darabont. Once again, takes place in a prison, and was it Michael Clark Duncan? Is that his name? Great performance by him. Once again, kind of slow-witted, not retarded really, but slow witted. You know,
It's a sad movie too. It's a real depressing movie.
Yeah, I don't consider it depressing. It's sad, but I don't consider it depressing. It's one that I like to watch, like once a
Oh,
year. Or so.
it's a very well made film, and I think it was a smart choice, just making him such a big guy too. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
because he's like a gentle giant. You know,
exactly.
and of course, racism gets brought into it a little bit and stuff like that. So it's a good film with different kind of topics and stuff. You know,
and I remember I had a little used bookstore that I ran in Mejia, and I remember when this came out, the Stephen King. But what he did was he put out these little short little chapters.
oh, it was in a box like that big.
Well, no.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
When he first put it out, no, you had to buy them separately. When he first did it, you had to buy them separately. So, like every month you'd get a new chapter. So you had to go to the bookstore and buy the new chapter. But what you're talking about was after they were all done, they put them in a box. You could just buy them, but it was a chapter based story, The Green Mile. And it was sort of an experiment that Stephen King did, and of course he made $1 billion. But I read it when they came out. I got the new chapter and would read the new chapter, and it's like, oh God, you have to wait another month for the next chapter to come out to find out what happens.
See, that makes sense because I always wondered because I went to the public library years ago, and I'm like, why are they in a box and like this? That makes sense. I always wondered that, like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, like say back in the day, you had to wait a month for the new chapter to come out, and you
had to be torture.
And they were like $2 or $3 a piece. You know, they were cheap, but you had to wait. It was like, you know.
I know, but like, what if you get really into it? It's like, well, I can't read the next chapter till next month. I got to just wait.
That was the thing. I really did get into it. I really did, and it was like, oh shit, I got to wait. I got to wait to find out what happens next. You know, so it was a smart thing. It was a smart experiment because I think he made, you know, $1 billion off of it or whatever. And a great movie. And let's see.
Yeah, that's a smart thing for him to do. So instead of just selling one book, he made double his profit.
Was it 10 books or something like that? I don't know how many books it was. Yeah. Kathy says, I watched an expo on Rick from Pawn Star in prison for life. They found 25 bodies in his mansion. Good Lord.
What the hell? The bald man from Pawn Stars?
On Rick from Pawn Star in prison for life. They found 25 bodies in his mansion. Good God. It's the first I'm hearing about that.
A24 make a movie about Rick from Pawn Stars.
Yeah, well, okay, we got some A24 movies.
Tom Lee from Pawn Stars got in trouble. He went to prison too for something. The A24 film, Pawn Stars. I wonder who would play Rick. Danny DeVito. No, Danny DeVito's too short. We need like a fat bald guy.
It's been so long since I've seen any of it. I used to watch Pawn Stars, but it's been so long since I've watched any of those. But good.
That's God. A lot of. I wonder, since it's in Vegas, if it was organized crime or something. Because 225, that's a lot of bodies.
Okay.
You know, but that would be a good A24 one. I'd see it.
Well, I'm going to end with this one, not necessarily in the show, but in my movie list with 2000. And I remember I had been on the internet for a year. I think it was 1999 when I went on the internet. And everybody was worried when the year 2000 came that it was going to fuck up all the computers. They thought, you know, the computers aren't going to know to go to 2000. And all the computers are going to mess up, and all the banks are going to fall, and everything's the world's going to come to an end. And of course, nothing happened. But 2000, And Gladiator came out that year, which I really like. Gladiator, Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, The Dark Knight. A great performance by Heath Ledger as the Joker, and Christian Bale as Batman. Great movie, Christopher Nolan.
That was 2000.
That was 2000. And let's see, Pan's Labyrinth came out then.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Finding Nemo came out then. But the one that I watch the most often, there's so many Coen Brothers movies I've got on my lists is favorite movies. Maybe not for the year, but just favorite movies, period. But my favorite of 2000 is No Country for Old Men with Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin.
Is that the one where the guy has that air gun thing that's like for pigs?
Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem, is that how you pronounce his name?
I remember I've seen that a long time ago, but isn't that the one, the dude, he has like the little,
he's got the air, yeah, it's an air compressor, and he said it stands still when he puts against his head.
Yeah, that was I remember that movie. I just ain't seen it in a long time.
Well, you definitely want to watch it again. And I just love that movie. It's just the direction by the Coen Brothers, very tense. And Javier Bardem, or however you pronounce his name, Bardem. I don't know. Did he win the Oscar that year? I think he was nominated. I don't know if he won the Oscar that year. Great performance by him as the sadistic killer. And was it Josh Brolin? Hang on.
I only remember the air gun. That's all I remember about that movie.
Yeah, well, anyway, he finds speaking of drug money, he finds a bunch of drug money. And it was him and his wife, and so he wants to try to keep this drug money. And Javier Bardem is hired to hunt him down. And he's crazy, and he's sadistic, and nothing's going to stop him. And just a great performance by him, and great direction by the Coen Brothers, and just very tense, and just a really good movie. Yeah, and one you need to update, and you need to see that one again. Okay. Yippers, she says. He was in lots of shady shit. And the Thin Blue Line. Yes, I really like the Thin Blue Line. A documentary about a guy that was convicted of murder. And I think you find out that he didn't do it. But it's just
is that the one he got freed or something? Like it? Yeah, I know that it won a bunch of awards or something because he got freed, right?
And it's a great documentary, and that music by what was that composer? That music, but anyway, I love it. That's one of my favorite documentaries. It's Thin Blue Line. So, yes, sis, I definitely have seen that. It's been a while though. I need to see it again. It's been a while since
I think A24 should pay us for movie suggestions because I was thinking, that Rick from Pawn Stars. You remember that weird? They could do one on that Y2K shit, but you remember that weird Heaven's Gate stuff? I remember when I was a real little kid, like real little. There was these people that like were called the Heaven's Gate cult, and they thought the UFO was coming. And like some of the guys like castrated themselves, and like one of the ladies who was on Star Trek or something was in it, and they committed suicide because that apple bottom guy or whatever, that weird dude, and he talked like this and was on the news. And he's like, "We're going to the Comet Hill Bop."
Well, just as far as true stories, I mean, the Jim Jones, that cult, that whole story, that'd be A24 can go to town with that one, the Jim Jones story, and of course, around here we had the Mount Carmel and that whole business. But there was a good TV movie made about that.
Was that the Waco?
Yeah, the Waco, or near Waco. It wasn't in Waco, it was near Waco.
I know, that's what was crazy. Cause I tried to find it one day, and I drove all over Waco, and I'm like, I don't see no damn compound.
It's before, from where I'm at, it's before you get to Waco. It's not actually in Waco. All the news place, newscasts and all that, they all said Waco, but it wasn't in Waco.
The Ruby Ridge would be another one that'd be interesting. They can make a movie about that too, because that was kind of another Waco type thing, to where the government went in and they said they shot first and all kinds of crazy shit.
Who would I cast as Jim Jones? I always go to Willem Dafoe for pretty much everything these days. I think he's one of the best actors ever. Or maybe maybe Nick Cage. But I don't know. They would have to do some heavy makeup.
It's something I would want to do, something to where you put an actor in it. You remember when Christian Bale played Dick Cheney and you had no idea it was Christian Bale?
Yeah, and who was the guy that in that recent Batman movie, the guy that played the Riddler, and who was the actor that makeup? And you had no idea that was him.
I forgot the actor's name, but yeah, I would do something like that. Find somebody and just try to do that, or find like a televangelist or something. Like I would try to find someone who's like a preacher and good at preaching to be Jim Jones.
The Penguin. Yeah, I don't know if I said the Penguin, but the guy.
Oh, the Penguin. Yeah. Damn, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but yeah, you would never know that was him. I thought they just got a fat dude, but no, it was actually just a guy in makeup.
Yeah, the makeup.
Tom Hardy.
They did a TV series that's really good of his character as the Penguin. But yeah. That is, who would I cast as Jim Jones? I go between Willem Dafoe and Nick Cage, or find someone that we haven't heard of that's an up and coming.
I'm trying to think of somebody.
And yes, Kathy, A24 is a movie studio. The movies that they've done. What was it? Oh gosh. The Lighthouse, X, Pearl. Gosh, there's so many movies. Nosferatu. Was that Nosferatu? Was that A24? I don't know.
That was Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's right. It gave us a Universal monster movie.
I'm trying to think on that, Jim. That would be interesting to have somebody, like I said, I could see Nick Cage just going ape shit in that. You know what I'm saying? Because he kind of goes 1 to 100. You do a scene where he snaps, drink the goddamn Kool-Aid.
Well, you can go. I think it's on YouTube, and it's audio because he recorded a bunch of shit. Jim Jones back then, it had recordings going on, and that there's a recording going on during that whole time where he's talking everybody into drinking that Kool-Aid. He said, "Look, they're coming for us. We can't let them. We've got to go out our own way. We can't let them come get us or whatever." I forget what he says, but there's audio that you can listen to of him convincing everyone to drink that Kool-Aid, and it's just chilling. Oh my God, it's chilling. The Acid Mountain movie, Leader of the Kill Camp. I'm not understanding what you mean there. It was in Elk, Texas. That was the Mount Carmel, Elk, Texas.
The Heaven's Gate would be an interesting one though, because you could just make it about Marshall Applewhite, because that guy was just kind of a interesting character.
Yeah. Well, have you seen anything movie-wise? Have you seen something recently that I should check out?
Recently, mostly just old stuff. I haven't been to the theater to see anything new in a while. I feel like a lot of movies now, I'll see like 5 or 6 previews, and I'm like, no. Okay, I'll see that one. No. Wait for Home. No. Okay, I'll see that one. I'm hoping to see Lady in the Yard soon, because that's been getting mixed reviews. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm just kind of curious about the ending, since everyone's talking about the ending.
Well, yeah, and I'm not going to spoil it, but Cody Leach spoiled it, and he said that here's why I'm going to spoil it. If you don't want to hear it, shut it off. But he said it was.
I don't want to hear it. I'm going to step out for a bit.
I'm not going to say what it is, but he said the reason why he spoiled it and the reason why he really gave the movie a thumbs down, so to speak. He says it was a dangerous ending to have. That it would affect some people in some ways that would be dangerous. I'll put it that way. That they shouldn't have ended the movie that way. So I'll leave you with that. I know how it ends, but I was like, yeah. And it wouldn't affect me that way if I were, but I can understand how it might. So,
yeah, it just looked like a kind of just a lady in the yard. It looked kind of like I don't know, like a so bad it's good kind of thing, I thought, because it's kind of like, it's the lady in the yard. Who the hell is that? It's a lady in the yard,
Well, it is. That's what it is. It's a lady in the yard, and she's sitting out in the yard. And yeah, the Cody Leach, but like I say, I go to him for a lot of the new movies coming out and hear what he has to say.
I do too. I do too, but I'm always the kind of person, I see a movie, then I'll watch the review. So I'll watch a lot of his stuff after I already seen it.
Well, Cody Leach usually doesn't give spoilers. He did in The Lady in the Yard, and he said, there's a reason why I'm doing this. And he said, if you don't want to hear it, shut it off, but there's a reason why I'm spoiling this. But most movies he doesn't spoil. Or he'll do, after the movie's out a while, he'll do a spoiler review. He did that for Nosferatu. Yeah. He did that for Terrifier 3. He gave a non-spoiler review first, and then he gave a spoiler review after it'd been out a while.
I might, like I said, that lady in the yard, I'm interested in seeing that. I was going to see Dogman, but then I saw the DVD at Walmart. And then the new Megan trailer looks good to me. It's like they're doing like a Terminator 2 thing where Megan's a good guy. So
that's an interesting twist to have. Yeah, to have. I
want to see that. Yeah, I definitely want to see that. Then there's the M. Night Shyamalan's Trap is on Netflix. I want to check that out at some point.
That's the thing with him. He can either be really good or really bad.
Yeah, but or he could be like so bad it's good, like that Happening with Mark Wahlberg and all. Then they're like, he's like, you're plotting to kill me.
That's a fun movie to watch to get your friends together and watch The Happening. It's
yeah, because Mark, did he like tell them to act bad on purpose or what? Because Mark Wahlberg and all of them are like, no, no.
Yeah, that was kind of like Troll 2 and the Wicker Man with Nick Cage and what else? Was it the Room?
Yeah, The Room, that's one that I'm surprised that he didn't know it was bad. Bless his heart, Tommy was.
He thought he was making a brilliant film, And
I know, it's hard to believe it.
That's the best kind of bad movie, is when they are intending to they think they're making a good movie. He thought he was making a real statement, He thought he was making something really genuinely good. And of course, it's not only bad, it's bizarre. It's freaking bizarre, that movie. The way he says lines and the things he does.
Hi, Mark. Hi, doggy.
I did. Was it? I didn't do it. I didn't. Oh, hi, Mark.
I did not.
I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, dude, that's a crazy one. I mostly just been reading. Like, I finished Psycho, and then I was going through that Montgomery Ward rating the movies, and I like Psycho, and I'm trying to figure out which Norman Bates I like better, the fat alcoholic Norman Bates in the book or like the handsome Anthony Perkins one.
Well, that's
I don't know.
Of my favorite performances, period, is Anthony Perkins, particularly as far as a performance, Psycho 2.
Yeah, I want to get the book. I want to get the book for Psycho too, because it's totally different than the movie. It's like takes place on. They're making a movie about the whole stuff that happened in the first book, so that'd be interesting to read. Or I've been trying to hunt down that Murders in Amityville book that the movie the Amityville Horror 2 was based on, just to read that one. But God, that's hard to find. I've been hitting up the used bookstores and I just can't find it.
Here's the latest from the KWTX First Alert Weather Team.
Oh, I was going to start saying something about Amityville.
It's my phone telling me how I can tune in and find out what the weather forecast is. I know they're supposed to rain on Easter Sunday.
Yeah, but that the Amityville Horror 2, man, I love that movie. That's a good one with Burt Young being an abusive asshole.
I don't know if you saw any of the show I did with Kathy a few days ago. I finally sat down and watched the Amityville Horror, which I hadn't seen in like 30-something years.
It's a bit slow, but it's good, in my opinion.
What bothered me and still bothers me about that movie is you get the fuck out of that house when that shit starts happening. And they stay in the fucking house. And the house is literally telling you to get out. And you're staying in the house.
Well, it doesn't it. I think it. I know, like in the book, like because there's an Amityville Horror 2 that the Lutzes were involved in writing, to where the demons follow them. So even though it told them to get out, it followed them or whatever. And then that's the whole. There's this whole legal battle because the guy who did MGM, they did Amityville 2, The Possession, but they did the Murder in Amityville book. So the Lutzes were trying to sue MGM, and there's like a whole bunch of behind the scenes drama with that. And then like the people who
talk about 2, I really like 2. Just
yeah,
the original story of that family, and
yeah, it's a good.
Murdered his wife.
Do you think it's true or not? Because I go back and forth on it. Because a part of me, I'm like, I believe in supernatural stuff, and they were only there for like 28 days, and all their money was in it. But then again, at the same time, there's certain paranormal investigators that went there. There's like, nah, there ain't nothing there. So I don't know. And then the whole deal with I think the writer wanted more credit or something because he said that they just got together and got drunk around the typewriter and he came up with a lot of the stuff. So he wanted more credit than they did, and it was all kinds of stuff like a lawsuit. So I don't know.
And there's some good scenes in the original, but I don't know why. That just bugged the hell out of me. It's like all this shit's happening. The house is trying to kill you. Get out of there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, do you think it's true or not? You think it was really haunted, or you think it was a hoax, or what?
Honestly, I lean towards not believing in ghosts and the supernatural. Kathy leans more, I think. I don't know if she's still here. Leans more into believing in. She says she's seen the ghost.
No, I had paranormal experiences myself. Like I experienced supernatural stuff, but I'm also skeptical too. And I used to just always be like, "Oh yeah, that house is really haunted." But the more I hear about the Lutzes and stuff, the more I'm kind of like, well, maybe they made a bunch of that shit up, or
I think because you move into the house, you move into a house where a family was murdered, then automatically you're going to, be thinking about that. Be thinking about, there being supernatural ghosts or whatever, and of course, that's just a good story to tell. If you move into this house where, these murders occurred, that's just a good story to tell, that the house was, haunted by the ghosts of the victims or evil spirits or whatever.
Well, see, because like at first I believed it because I'm like, something is probably haunted. But then there was a guy that lived there for years, and he's like, the only scary thing I seen was the weird people coming up trying to get in the house and take pictures by the house.
They made 15 sequels to the damn thing.
They changed, and what's crazy is they changed the name from 112 Ocean Avenue, but people still going to find that house. I mean, it's not that hard,
And of course, that look, that because those windows.
Well, it's different now. They remodeled it because people kept coming, but yeah, so it doesn't even really look like the Amityville house anymore because that guy got tired of people coming to his house all the time. That he
I
changed
can
it up.
imagine it's probably like every damn day there would be somebody coming to your house.
But it's a creepy movie. I think they went a little overboard in part 2 with the makeup, with him being possessed. It kind of gets a little silly. You know, he kind of starts going like growing shit out of his head. Then he kind of becomes like a mutant or something at the end. The third one's the shits, but it's funny. If you ever seen Amityville 3D or 3 or whatever.
Well, that's the thing is I can't really see in 3D, so that never worked for me. So like Friday the 13th Part 3 and Jaws,
but
Jaws
I've
3D.
seen the 2D version on DVD, and that wasn't the issue. It's just the acting is really bad. Like that weird little mutant thing he turns into from part 2's in a well, and this scientist is down there, and he's like, "Run, save yourself!" And then like the little demon guy's like, "Ah!" and like shoots fire on him, and he's like, "Ah!" And then they drag him down the well. It's like real bad acting and terrible. I'll never forget that. He's like, "Run, save yourself." Ah.
Real flat.
Yeah, real.
Well, I guess we'll wind down. I've got 24 more movies to go. And I guess we'll continue with this. Like I say, it isn't as much fun now that you've ended your movies, but yeah, you definitely had some comments about my choices anyway. So
yeah,
but yeah, we'll wind down here. I guess that'll be the next thing, as far as anything. The next thing I do with you, but be thinking about what we can do beyond that. What subjects we could cover. I wish I liked wrestling more because you've got some really interesting stuff to say about wrestlers.
Well, it doesn't, like you said, if you like documentaries, I mean, watch some of those Dark Sides of the Ring or whatever. They're about 45 minutes to an hour, and there's some crazy ones. Like, you'd be surprised at some of the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I love documentaries, and I like the story behind the wrestlers more than I actually like wrestling. I met Roddy Piper. He was before he passed away, he was at one of the Texas Frightmare weekends when I had a table and I was promoting my Dawn prequel book. And, they closed down for the day. So the guests are gone, but a lot of the people paying to come to the show were gone, but a lot of the guests were still there. So I would mingle around and just say hey to a few of them, just to meet them. And I walked up to Roddy Piper and I had a DVD set that I got from Walmart for like $5, but it had a documentary about it that I really liked about Roddy Piper. And I went and told him, I went by his table and I said, I just wanted to tell you, I saw this documentary about you that on this DVD set you got. And I really liked it. I was really fascinated by it. He said, "Oh, well, thank you, man." He says, I love documentaries about the Civil War and, old things like that. I love Civil War documentaries. And I had just like a 5-minute conversation with Roddy Piper, just shooting the shit. So I got a nice memory talking to Roddy Piper and just talking about documentaries, how much we love documentaries. So, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I've been itching to find someone to talk about some old Universal films and stuff like that about this, because nobody I know really likes monsters. It's all, I guess, since Terrifier got big, it's all about hacking people up nowadays.
Well, you and I did a show about the Universal.
Universal, yeah.
But I definitely am open to doing more. And you
yeah,
think about
or just doing, or like Christopher Lee or Hammer, stuff like that.
I love his Dracula movie, Christopher Lee's Dracula. That to me, that was the coolest Dracula.
Or we could just do a movie, we'll talk about Horror of Dracula one time, maybe something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love slasher movies and stuff, but I feel like I outgrown them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and like I like the Terrifier movies. When Terrifier 4 comes out, I'm gonna be first in line to see it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of tired of Scream. You know, there's a new Scream coming out. I'm kind of burnt out on it. I'm tired of seeing Jamie Lee Curtis fight Michael Myers. You know, it's getting ridiculous. I'm kind of tired of that. They're doing
Well,
I Know What You Did Last
I've
Summer.
always said that Halloween should have never had a sequel. So I went for years and years and years never seeing those sequels. And I've had people going, "You really? My God, you never saw the Halloween?" The Halloween being such a big deal to some people, but it wasn't for me. I never cared to see any of the sequels except for 3. But of course, 3 isn't a Michael Myers story. I love
Well,
3.
I like Halloween 2018 and the Halloween Kills, but Halloween Ends was just terrible, and I just didn't like it. And it's like, how many times are we going to see this old lady fight Michael Myers at this point? It's just, I care. It seems like even with the Scream movies now, I care more about the new characters than the legacy characters. And it's like, well, fucking kill Sydney off already. Damn, she had a good run. Shit, pick her off. Either that or just make it about new people, because there's only so many times you can see the same people over and over again. You know.
But anyway, Kathy says, "Yeah, I have seen a ghost myself. I believe now I was a skeptic until it happened to me only once." Yeah.
No, I had a paranormal experience. I didn't see it. I heard it. But like I said, I'm skeptical. Like, it's one of those things to where, like, if someone asked me if I believe in ghosts, I'm like, yes. But if someone told me they had a ghost in their house, I'd be kind of skeptical, you know? It's very rare. Very rare. But my friend Brad, when he was living around College Station, they had like a ghost of a little girl in their house, and I thought they were bullshitting. But you could hear the footsteps, like and like the like giggling of a child. I'm like, okay, that's fucking weird.
Ooh.
And it was like in a little trailer, and it changed me. I believed in it after that. Granted, I didn't see it; I just heard, you know. But it's one of those things to where when we try to tell his mom who lived with him, it didn't do anything. It's like that WB frog, you know, like the frog from the WB that was singing to the guy, but then when he tried to get it, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, ghost girl, start running around. Yeah, nothing happened.
Hello, my baby. Hello.
Yeah, it's crazy though. But mine was audible. I didn't see it, so. But it wouldn't surprise me.
Give that some thought about when I finally get through. Maybe the next one I can get through, but 24, that's quite a few to get through. But I'll do them
Or
fast.
westerns too. I love westerns. So.
I love westerns. Yeah, and like
I'm into all kinds of movies. I just know horror the most.
Yeah. I did when Kathy and I talked about Alfred Hitchcock movies, but she wants to do one talking about Alfred Hitchcock Presents the show, which that'd be a good one to do. So
yeah, my shadow on the wall, like that's why I switched to Miller Lite to lose some weight, because my shadow on the wall looked like the Alfred Hitchcock thing. I seen it and I heard doo 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 doo, and I was like, I need to lose weight. All right, man. Well, I'll see you around.
okay, well stick around with me here. I'm going to end this live, but okay, folks, please hit the thumbs up. Everyone that showed up, Kathy and Akers and Thomas, thank you all for showing up tonight. Please hit the thumbs up. Please spread the word if you like what you're seeing. And going to try with the next show to get through the rest of my list, because Brandon's through with his, and then we'll find something else to talk about. We'll find something. And so we'll keep mixing it up. But thank you guys for tuning in. Please keep doing it. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.